Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video on the channel, guys. What I have for you guys today, I have another episode of my championship score predictions, guys. So this is now week 17 of our championship score predictions, and this season's going pretty fast. I'm not going to lie about that. I mean, we're in December now, we're coming up to Christmas, and we're getting pretty close to the new year. But before we actually get into my predictions, what I'll do now is I will leave your guys' predictions on screen now. So if any of you did manage to correctly guess any of the midweek scorelines, I'll put your comment on screen now. So fair play to everyone who did correctly guess a scoreline this midweek, and it was quite an interesting one actually. I was going to do a Nottingham Forest vlog. In the end I didn't end up doing it. There was a couple of reasons for that which I won't get into right away, but like I said, apologies for that, but I should be bringing the matchday vlogs back in the new year, so I am looking forward to doing that. But also, before we get into my score predictions for this week, guys, I must say a massive thank you for 3,000 subscribers. Literally, that is absolutely mental, guys. I cannot say thank you enough. It is just to hit 3,000 subscribers, you know, from where we started this year out with, to end with 3,000 subscribers is honestly mind-blowing to me. So I honestly, each and every one of you that has subscribed to the channel and that leaves a comment on all the videos, I honestly can't say thank you enough. Just thank you so much. So if you've not seen this series before, let me briefly explain how it all goes down. So every week I give you my championship score predictions for how I think each game will turn out in the championship. FIFA 17 also makes their predictions, but what I'm really interested to know is what you guys have to say. So in the description down below, I will leave all the fixtures that are taking place this weekend, and I want you guys to make your predictions. Then if you do manage to guess any of your scorelines right, I will include your comment in the next video, guys. But enough of me rambling on, we'll just get into my predictions. So the first game we have taking place, guys, is between Norwich and Huddersfield, and this is actually quite an interesting matchup, and perhaps quite a tough one to call as well, so I'll be very interested to know what some of you have to say about this one. And this game is actually taking place tonight, so you'll have to get your comments in pretty quickly for this one. But of course, Norwich are coming off the back of their victory, Huddersfield as well after midweek. However, I didn't think either of the performances were, you know, mind-blowing from either team, so I'm going to go with a draw for this match. I'm going to say this one's going to end level as a 1-1. I think there's still a couple of questions being asked around Alex Neil at Norwich, and Huddersfield have been a bit stuttery lately with their form. But FIFA's actually said that this one is going to be a 1-0 Norwich win. And then for our next match, we have Blackburn Rovers coming up against Reading. So once again, this is a really difficult one to predict actually, because I could honestly see this one going either way, to be honest. But I am going to say, whenever Reading seemed to have been phased this season with a defeat, obviously it was a very disappointing one, a 2-0 loss to Leeds midweek. Whenever Reading seemed to come off the back of that, they always seem to get that reaction straight away. So I'm going to back them to do this for this one actually. I'm going to say that Reading are going to win this one 2-1. However, I do see Blackburn making this quite difficult for them, and you know, if Blackburn are going to get another victory in this match and you know, set Reading's tone down a little bit, it could be a difficult one for them to bounce back after that. And FIFA's actually predicting a 3-1 victory to Reading, so I'll be interested to know what you guys have to say about this one. And then for our next match, guys, we have Bristol City coming up against my team, Preston North End. So coming off the back of that 1-1 draw Preston had in midweek, it was a bit of a funny one, really. Preston had probably had the better of the first half in the Forest game, and Forest had the better of the second half. And of course, Bristol City coming off the back of that 1-0 defeat to Brentford that they suffered at home as well. They'll be looking to bounce back from that after Brentford haven't been on the best form lately. But Preston actually, looking over our past record against Bristol City, Preston do seem to have a quite favourable record against Bristol City. So I'm fancying our chances for this one, but I am anticipating quite a difficult match actually. And once again, this is another one of those games which I could see going either way, but Bristol City's form recently hasn't been the best. You know, you could say the same about Preston, but I am going to back a Preston win for this one. I'm going to say this one's going to end as a 2-1 victory to Preston, although I wouldn't be surprised if Bristol City were to claim all 3 points really in this match. But I'm going to back Preston for a 2-1 win. FIFA's saying a 0-0. And then for our next match, guys, we have Burton Albion coming up against Newcastle United. So at this point in time of the season, you know, Newcastle really do seem to be back to winning ways, and you know, they're just rolling out teams again. You know, obviously they got that victory against Wigan on Wednesday night, and coming up against Burton Albion, and you know, Burton's home form this season has been respectable, and it has been their home form so far, which has kept them just above the relegation zone. But looking at the contrasting quality between these two sides, I'd be really impressed if Burton were to get something from this match. But can I see it? Probably not. So I am going to back a 2-0 win to Newcastle, and FIFA's actually agree with me on this one. So both myself and FIFA are predicting 2-0 Newcastle. And then for our next match, we have Cardiff coming up against Barnsley. So this is a quite difficult one to predict once again. We have Cardiff coming up off the back of that 2-1 victory against Wolves midweek, and Barnsley coming off the back of that 2-0 defeat to Sheffield Wednesday. However, prior to that, Barnsley actually had picked up quite a few decent results. So I do anticipate Barnsley to make this one quite difficult for Cardiff actually. And of course, Cardiff looking to build up the table after that awful start to the season they had. They are looking to get out of relegation at this point in time, and I do actually fancy Cardiff to make it 6 points out of 6 from their last 2 games. So I do anticipate it to be like quite a close game though, like I said. So I'm going to say this one's going to end 1-0 to Cardiff, and once again, FIFA's agreeing with me. This is quite crazy actually, but once again, FIFA's agreeing with me. We're saying 1-0 Cardiff. And then going into our next match, guys, we have Fulham coming up against Derby. So this is one of the games of the weekend which I'm really looking forward to actually seeing what the outcome turns out as, and I actually see this one being quite a lively affair as well. Of course, we all know that Fulham have been involved with a lot of goals recently, both for and against them, but I do anticipate this one to be quite an interesting match and quite a lively one at that. But it's a really difficult one to be for back against Derby at this point in time. I mean, I think they've won all their matches, you know, in the last 2 months under Steve McLaren. They're on an exceptional run of form at this point in time, and that's just epitomised at the moment by Tom Ince with the great run of form he's gone under recently. So I'm going to say this one's going to end as a 2-1 victory to Derby. However, you know, if any team's going to pull off, you know, a little bit of an upset, Fulham are more than capable of that. But I am going to say 2-1 Derby. FIFA saying a 0-0. I'll be very surprised if this one ends goalless. And then for our next match, guys, we have Leeds United coming up against Brentford. So of course, Leeds United are coming off the back of that fantastic result they got in midweek against Reading, managing to dispatch them by 2-0. And of course, Brentford will be looking to start a bit of form, you know, recently. You know, that result they got in midweek against Bristol City was massive for them and this season, really. I mean, with the, you know, the rumours linking Scott Hogan away from the club in January, it is pivotal that Brentford get as many points as possible at this point in the season to ensure they're not going to be dragged into a relegation battle come the end of the season. But I do anticipate this one to be a really difficult one for Brentford. So for that reason, I am going to back Leeds United for a 2-0 victory. I think they have been looking pretty decent lately, but FIFA's actually said that this one is going to end as a 0-0. Then going into our next match, guys, we have Nottingham Forest coming up against Wolverhampton Wanderers. So for this game, I'm actually going to back a draw for this match, and there is a couple of reasons for that. I do still think that there's a lot of questions to be asked of this Nottingham Forest defence, and I think that with some of the quality that Wolves have going forward, you know, obviously we saw that with them scoring 4 goals against Fulham not too long ago. I do think that with applied pressure to that Forest back line, I do think they'll shake at times. So for that reason, I think Wolves could get a couple of goals in this game. But saying that, you know, I don't think Forest are going to be mugs in terms of going forward in this match. So I'm going to say this one's going to balance each other out, and I'm going to say it's going to end level as a 2-2 draw. And FIFA's actually said that this one is going to end as a draw, but as a 1-1. And then for our next match, guys, we have Sheffield Wednesday coming up against Rotherham. So ever since Kenny Jackett has actually left Rotherham, they've actually not been too bad, to be completely honest. You know, they obviously picked up a victory not too long ago, managing to get 10 points on the board, but even with the defeats, they've still been in the games. You know, they've not actually been too bad. You know, they've not been the outcast at the bottom of the league, which you perhaps expect them to be. It's not like they've been getting beat like 6-0 every week. And with Sheffield Wednesday, once again, they've been a really topsy-turvy team in this season so far. I think really they've not done themselves justice with how well they can probably play so far this season. I think a lot of wasted opportunities has been the key source for Sheffield Wednesday this season, really. And I am going to back Sheffield Wednesday for a victory, but I think it could be quite tighter than what a lot of people are actually suggesting. So I'm going to say this one's going to end as a 1-0 victory for Sheffield Wednesday, and FIFA saying that this one's going to end as another 0-0. And then for our next match, guys, we have Wigan Athletic coming up against Ipswich Town. So at this point in the season, of course, Wigan aren't on the best run of form at the moment, and it's games like this which they really do need to start picking up all 3 points from if they are going to get out of the relegation zone anytime soon. And I actually think this is a perfect opportunity for them. I think it's a very good time for them to be playing Ipswich, of course, with them themselves, you know, not being on the best run of form. And I'm actually going to fancy a Wigan victory for this match. I think it is something that they need, and I do see this game being quite a low scorer. If there's more than 3 goals scored in this game, I'd be quite surprised, really, with both of them not being the best going forward this season. So So I'm going to say this one's going to end as a 1-0 victory to the home side, Wigan Athletic, in this one. But FIFA's actually disagreed with me for this one. FIFA has said that Ipswich are going to walk away victorious with a 2-0 victory. And then for our next match, guys, we have Birmingham coming up against Brighton. And first of all, I've got to get some Birmingham fans' opinions in the comments down below, guys. What a crazy week it has been for Birmingham. I mean, they're coming off the back of a 2-1 victory against Ipswich Town. And after that match, they've gone and given their manager, Gary Rowett, who was, in my opinion, doing an exceptional job at the club. And to a lot of their fans' opinions as well, he was doing a great job at the club. They've actually gone and departed company with him. Gary Rowett's been sacked, and since then, the new manager has been installed, and that has been Gianfranco Zola. So I'd love to get some Birmingham fans' opinions as to what you think of this hectic week. You know, to me personally, it was just a massive shock, and it is a bit of a risk, I think, from the owners as well. You know, with Gary Rowett doing well with this Birmingham side, it could cause, you know, a bit of a disruption. I mean, Zola is a good manager, there's no doubt about that, but with the dynamic that this Birmingham side was currently working under Rowett, I think it would be foolish to disrupt that. But and you know, for that reason, I'm actually going to say that Brighton are going to win this match. So I'm going to say that Brighton are going to walk away with a 2-0 victory in this match. Of course, there is more reasons to that. You know, Brighton have been very good this season, but with that disrupted Birmingham side, I'm going to say 2-0 Brighton for this one. But FIFA's actually said that this one's going to end as a 0-0, and I think that this one is actually live on Sky. So this will be one that I'm really looking forward to seeing how Birmingham do in this match. And then for our last game, guys, we have the Sunday game taking place between Queen's Park Rangers and Aston Villa. So both of these sides are coming up against each other, not in the best of form really, so it's a massive opportunity for either of these sides to go ahead and pick up all 3 points. And I think, you know, picking up 3 points for either of these sides at the moment would be massive. I think especially for QPR, that Ian Holloway could really do with a victory in this match. But saying that, I'm going to fancy the away side for this game. I think they just have that extra bit of quality which QPR seem to have been lacking at this point in time, and as well as that, I just feel like Aston Villa have a bit more to their squad in terms of mental strength and things like that. It may seem a bit silly, but I just question QPR's squad. I mean, when I'm looking at it and when I've seen QPR play lately, it just looks like a team of individuals. So if they do go ahead and pick up all 3 points in that match, fair play to QPR, but I'm going to say this one's going to end as a 2-1 victory for Aston Villa. But FIFA's actually said that this one's going to end as a 1-1 draw. So there you guys have it. There are my Championship Week 17 score predictions, guys. So that will now wrap it up for this video. So thank you so much for watching. So like I said at the start of the video, all the fixtures that are taking place this weekend will be listed in the description down below, and make sure you leave a comment as to what you think your scorelines will be this weekend, guys. But like I said, guys, that will wrap it up for this video. So thank you so much for watching. A massive thank you once again for 3,000 subscribers. It is just mental to me that we've managed to hit that, guys. It's just absolutely crazy. But apart from that, guys, make sure you check out all the other links in the description down below. Make sure you leave a like on the video if you did enjoy it. It is always massively appreciated. But apart from that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.